James Bay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As always, it's a great honor to rise in this House and represent the people of Timmins James Bay, and I will be sharing my time with my colleague, Mike, very close neighbour from the great region of Abitibi-Temiskaming. As honoured as I am to stand here, I find it so unfortunate to watch the Liberals and Conservatives use a program for getting young people opportunity as a proxy for a culture war. To see them talking about freedom and totalitarianism and the Liberals using their faux progressive agenda when we're talking about organizations that do incredible amount of work in each of our communities to help young people. And that's the focus of what we should be dealing with here. I want to say, Mr. Speaker, that the Canada Summer Jobs Program in my region of Timmins James Bay does extraordinary work. My riding is bigger than Great Britain. And as an MP, I'm very involved in making sure that the program is accessible right across the region to ensure a balance so that communities in the far isolated reserves of James Bay can have young people hired. In the isolated farming communities, students who come home can get work. For the Franco-Ontarian community, to make sure that all the cultural organizations have representation. To work with the great groups like the YMCA, the Heart and Stroke Foundation, Science Timmins. This is an incredible program. And what I find has been very unfortunate in this debate is the undermining of that program and the undermining of people of religious faith to believe they can access this program, both by the Liberals and by the Conservatives. I want to say at the outset that for me, the issue of a woman's right to choose is non-negotiable. It is a fundamental principle. But it is not the issue that we tend to deal with when we're hiring Canada Summer Jobs. But there have been abuses, and I'm glad to see that the Liberal government recognized there were abuses. In my riding, every year a group that I'd never heard of before called Priests for Life got on the list to get Canada Summer Jobs. I was like, Priests for Life? I've never heard of these guys. So I checked them out on their website. They got this American flag. They got the White House. They're a militant, right-wing, anti-abortion organization. They shouldn't be working with money, getting money for children in my region or young people. And I'm looking up, I'm saying, well, what kind of young people work do they do? You know, they actually have on their page, they have a special link to Real Estate for Life. They're promoting real estate agents for life. It's like, talk about the money changers in the temple, Mr. Speaker. That is an organization that should never have gotten the money. And an abuse like that could have been easily fixed by the Liberal government. Of saying, if you're using these funds to promote an extremist agenda, you are not eligible. But the Liberals, as being Liberals, came with a very ham-fisted response, which I think, call me cynical, but Liberals love culture wars. And so they made a values test that was very unnecessary for all the organizations that sign up. And now they're trying to do damage control, saying, don't worry, we didn't mean that. And the Conservatives, of course, love this kind of culture war and are jumping on it. But what's really concerning to me is all the good religious groups that apply year after year are being given the impression that they're no longer eligible because of the abuse of the process by one or two or three extremist groups across Canada who should never have been eligible in the first place. You know, Mr. Speaker, I learned my politics in the church. I remember as a young kid, the priests organizing over the grape boycott and seeing this, learning about Cesar Chavez. And, you know, growing up, we thought eating grapes, like, you know, eating fish not on Friday, we thought eating grapes was some kind of mortal sin because there was a major international boycott to defend the farm workers, and we learned that in our parishes. We learned about standing up for the poor. We learned about public service. And as I grew older, I continued my work. I was a youth leader in our church. And the work that we did in our church was helping kids from all backgrounds, kids who never went to church, kids of any faith who had no place else to go, offering the summer dances, events. And I see in my region, faith groups are still doing that. And that is good, important work. And I want to say that we value that work, and we value that work across the faith spectrum of the groups who are doing social justice, the groups who are helping, the groups who are encouraging young people. That's where we need to focus. We need to talk about the role that Canada Summer Jobs can play in offering young people opportunities. In a region as big as mine, where we see youth out-migration as one of the fundamental problems facing our communities, that young people, if they want to go to post-secondary, they have to leave home to go to university. And many of them are so loaded with student debt, coming home isn't an option. And so just as we lose our trees, just as our hydro leaves, just as our copper and our gold and our nickel head south to help Queen's Park, so do our young people. And it's been an important fundamental principle for me in using the Canada Summer Jobs Program to make sure that a young person in Matachewan gets an opportunity for employment, that young people in Timmins are able to get good work experience working with excellent organizations like the Heart and Stroke Foundation. The kids in Fort Albany are able to save money, especially for the ones who have to leave to go to school. That is the kind of vision that we have to have with the Canada Summer Jobs Program. What we've seen with the Liberal government is a complete ham-fisted, over-the-top response that was completely unnecessary. And in doing so, they have rattled public confidence in the Canada Summer's Jobs. And I think they have unfairly politicized Canada Summer's Jobs and made people of the faith community believe that they are not eligible, that they're going to have to go through some kind of this bizarre test that the Conservatives are talking about to prove their worthiness, when all that was needed was a simple check to make sure that those extremist organizations were not abusing the program. And shame on the Conservatives for telling the faith communities across Canada that they are no longer eligible. As a Member of Parliament, I take my work on Canada Summer Jobs extremely seriously. I'm involved with Service Canada in the laying out what are the priorities for our region. For me, the importance of isolated, rural, of making sure people get good experience in the nonprofit sector, the work of cultural organizations in our region, particularly a rural francophone region. These are organizations that play a vital role, and it is my role as MP to be part of that. It is my responsibility as Member of Parliament to make sure that we are getting the maximum amount. Oh, and by the way, Mr. Speaker, we get record funding year after year after year in Timmins, James Bay. I just want to say we are making sure every year that the maximum dollars that are eligible come into our riding and they make the best use. So this is the conversation that we need to have. And I would implore the Liberal government to realize that their ham-fisted responses are not the best way to solve things that can be solved in a straightforward manner, and to reassure Canadians, and I ask my colleagues in the Conservative Party as well, to stop the fear game, because faith communities of all faiths are still very much a central part of helping public service, of ensuring young people get opportunities, of doing the frontline work of making our communities better, making them safer, and giving young people hope. And this is our fundamental role, to give young people a belief that Canada is a land of opportunity, a reason to hope, and we can use Canada Summer Jobs in such an important and valuable way. And I want to be here to say that we will work as New Democrats to defend the Canada Summer Jobs Program and keep it from the nasty culture wars that the Liberals and Conservatives love to engage in whenever they get the opportunity. And shame on them for using Canada Summer Jobs to fight their proxy wars.
Questions and comments.